Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I remember standing in that auditorium in my cap and gown, clutching the degree I fought tooth and nail for. My phone stayed silent. No, we're proud of you. No, we're on our way. Not even a late excuse. An hour later, I saw the pictures, my entire family smiling at my brother's work award ceremony. The caption reading, "Wouldn't miss this for the world." I swallowed the ache quietly. That same afternoon, I signed 3 contracts I'd been working toward for months. 3 deals that would shape my career and my future. I celebrated in a coffee shop with a slice of cheesecake and a pen still warm from my signature. No applause, no hugs. Just me, and maybe that was enough. I didn't bring it up. I didn't try to make them see what they missed. I just kept working, growing, becoming. Then came the anniversary party. I found out from a cousin's Instagram reel. Everyone was there, dressed up, holding champagne, my parents blowing out candles on a cake big enough to feed a town. My face didn't flash in a single memory. When I asked my sister why I wasn't even told, she shrugged through the phone and said, "Only for family." I sat there for a second, letting the weight of those 4 words sink in, not as a wound this time, but as clarity. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I opened my laptop and booked myself a solo trip. Somewhere warm, loud with oceans, and beautifully far away from expectation. On that trip, I rediscovered my own voice, over morning walks, quiet dinners, and sunsets that didn't talk back. I journaled. I laughed with strangers. I made promises to myself. Never again would I fight for a chair at someone else's table when I could build my own. Exactly 1 week later, my phone rang. Then again. Finally I answered. My mother was crying before I even said hello. Something had gone wrong. Something serious involving finances and legal trouble with a family member. Suddenly, the girl who didn't count as family was the only one who could fix it. "We need your help, please. You're the only one who knows how." I listened, calm, present, detached. When she finally paused, I said the quietest, truest sentence I've ever spoken. "Do we even know each other?" The silence on the other end was louder than every celebration they skipped. I wasn't cruel. I wasn't vengeful. I was done begging to be seen by people who only remembered me when I was useful. I stood there in my graduation gown, the kind of deep navy that's supposed to make you feel proud and historic, but all I felt was exposed. I had worked for this moment, late nights hunched over textbooks, early mornings double-checking assignments, holding myself together when no one else bothered to ask how I was doing. I told my family the date months in advance. I reminded them gently the week before. I even sent the ceremony invite in the family group chat, just hoping they'd at least pretend to care. The seats around me filled with parents holding bouquets, siblings waving posters, relatives shouting names like it was the Oscars. Every time the auditorium doors opened, I turned, expecting to see even one familiar face. But the doors kept closing without them. When my name was called, I walked the stage with a smile that felt borrowed. The applause echoing through the hall wasn't for me. It was just the general kindness of strangers. Afterward, I stepped outside into the afternoon sun, still clutching my degree folder like proof that I existed. I checked my phone. No messages. Not even a lazy, "Sorry, we're running late." And then, like a slap disguised as a notification, my screen lit up with photos from my brother's event. My entire family gathered around him at his workplace celebration, calling it a proud family moment. They were dressed up, laughing, plates of food in their hands, arms around each other like a perfect portrait. I didn't cry, not then. The hurt was too sharp to turn into tears. Instead, I just stood on the sidewalk in my cap and gown. People passing by with flowers and hugs, and I realized something that stung more than the empty seat with my name on it. My achievements didn't matter to them unless they could take credit for them. And since they couldn't, they chose to pretend the moment never existed. I went home that evening without celebration, without noise, without anyone asking how it felt to cross the stage alone. The silence in my room was louder than any crowd. But instead of spiraling, I opened my laptop, the same one I'd used to build every step of my future while they ignored the process. I had 3 pending contract offers sitting in my inbox, each the result of months of networking, late-night proposal writing, and believing in myself when no one else bothered to. One by one, I reviewed them carefully. A consulting deal with a startup that had been chasing me for weeks. A remote collaboration with a media agency I'd admired since college. And a licensing agreement for a project I had built from scratch, one my family didn't even know existed because they had never asked. My hand didn't shake when I signed. There was no dramatic music, no confetti, no toast raised in my honor. Just my signature and the quiet click of a send button. 3 life-changing contracts, sealed in the same hour my family was posting selfies from an event they said they couldn't miss. I treated myself to a slice of cheesecake from a little cafe down the street, the kind with tiny tables and warm lights that make you feel less alone. I sat in the corner booth, my graduation cap still in my bag, my degree folder beside it like a silent witness. I didn't need applause. I didn't need validation. I had signed deals that would fund my dreams, build my independence, and remind me that being unseen didn't make me insignificant. In that quiet cafe, I realized something freeing. The world can overlook you, dismiss you, skip your milestones, but it doesn't get to decide your success. That power has always been mine. I first heard about the anniversary party by accident, a boomerang video on my cousin's Instagram story. My parents were dressed to perfection, the venue was lit with gold decor, and everyone I grew up with was there. Everyone except me. No text, no call. No, hey, are you coming? Just silence so intentional it may as well have been an invitation to stay away. I sat with it for a day, trying to convince myself it was a misunderstanding. Maybe they thought I was busy. Maybe someone forgot to add me to the group chat. Maybe, because sometimes hope makes you ridiculous, they were planning to surprise me later. But the more I scrolled through the photos, the clearer it became. My absence wasn't an accident. It was a decision. I called my sister, not to confront her, just to hear her say something reasonable. Something that made it hurt less. She answered casually, like she wasn't dodging my existence, and when I asked why no one had told me, she didn't stutter or hesitate. She just said it, sharp and careless. It was only for family. There was no apology tied to it. No hesitation in her tone. Just a statement like I was a neighbor asking why I didn't get invited to a block party. The words hit harder than they sounded, because in that moment, she wasn't just explaining the situation. She was defining my place in it. I could have yelled. I could have reminded her of every time I showed up for birthdays, emergencies, favors, and celebrations no one else wanted to attend. I could have begged for clarity or demanded respect, but I didn't. I just sat there in silence, phone pressed to my ear, realizing she didn't see the problem because, to them, there wasn't one. My existence had become optional. My presence replaceable. My milestones invisible. That was the moment something in me shifted, not in anger, but in understanding. I finally stopped asking why I was always left out and started accepting that they didn't think I'd walk away. They thought I'd keep showing up, keep forgiving, keep shrinking myself just to be included. They forgot that being quiet isn't the same as being weak. The moment I hung up the phone, something in me settled. Not in defeat, just in clarity. I didn't rage, didn't cry, didn't try to prove I mattered. I opened my laptop, pulled up a travel site, and booked a one-way ticket without overthinking. No itinerary, no companion, no explanation. If they could erase me from their moments, I could remove them from mine. I packed light, just a suitcase, my passport, a journal, and the kind of clothes you wear when you don't owe anyone a version of yourself. The airport felt like neutral ground, a place where no one knew my name or my history. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't the daughter, the sister, or the afterthought. I was just a woman traveling because she could. The first night, I ate dinner alone at a beachside restaurant, the kind where the sound of the ocean replaces conversation. At another time in my life, I might have felt lonely, like I needed someone across the table to make the meal count. But that night I felt whole. I wasn't missing. I wasn't excluded. I was exactly where I chose to be. Days passed without a single thought about who was posting what or who was gathering without me. I woke up with the sun instead of to family group chats. I wrote in my journal about the version of myself I had abandoned while begging for scraps of belonging. I dipped my feet in the ocean, let strangers take pictures of me when I asked, ate pancakes at noon, and said yes to things that weren't on any checklist. I relearned the sound of my own laughter, the kind that isn't muffled by someone else's expectations. I didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel rebellious. I just felt free. Somewhere between a sunrise hike and a sunset boat ride, I realized I had never been running from my family. I had been running after their approval. And somewhere on that trip, I stopped chasing. A week into my trip, I was sitting on a balcony overlooking the water, sipping coffee that tasted slightly like burnt sugar, when my phone started buzzing. At first I ignored it. Then it buzzed again. And again. Calls, messages, missed notifications lighting up the screen like an alarm I hadn't set. When I finally answered, my mother's voice came through thick with panic. She didn't start with "How are you?" or "Where are you?" She jumped straight into disaster mode. Something had gone wrong, money issues, legal trouble, a situation spiraling faster than they could contain. And suddenly, the daughter who didn't count as family was the only one with the skills, the resources, and the composure to fix it. My sister got on the line too, her voice shaky, stripped of the casual arrogance she'd had when she said, "Only for family." They kept talking over each other, voices cracking, trying to explain how badly they needed me. It wasn't just a request. It was desperation. I didn't interrupt. I didn't rush to soothe or solve. I let the silence stretch just enough for them to feel it. And when my mother finally asked, "Can you help us?" I answered in a voice so calm it startled even me. "Do we even know each other?" There was a pause, long, raw, heavy. Not the kind that waits for an answer, but the kind that forces a reckoning. For once, they heard themselves the way I had heard them all these years, like I was only real when they needed something. I didn't yell. I didn't guilt-trip them. I didn't remind them of graduations skipped or parties I never knew about. I said the truth they had written through their actions. And I let it land. Their tears and apologies came too late to undo the damage. I wasn't cruel. I wasn't petty. I was just done being convenient. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel the slightest need to rush back just because they were finally looking in my direction. In the days that followed, I didn't second-guess my words. I didn't replay the conversation or wonder if I'd gone too far. For once, I let them sit with the version of me that didn't bend at the sound of their urgency. The version they created by ignoring, excluding, and underestimating me for years. I didn't cut them off completely, but I stopped making myself available on demand. I stopped shrinking my feelings to protect theirs. I stopped confusing tolerance with love. Eventually, they tried to reach out again, not with emergencies this time, but with softened voices and awkward attempts at connection. I didn't rush to meet them halfway. I let them walk the distance. Respect isn't owed just because we share blood. It's earned by how you show up. I kept working. I kept traveling. I kept choosing myself in ways that made the old version of me unrecognizable. The contracts I signed after graduation turned into opportunities that stretched far beyond anything my family ever imagined for me. And I didn't need them to clap for it. My life started clapping back in its own way. I learned something powerful in the space their absence created. Being left out can be painful, but it can also be directional. Sometimes the doors people close on you are actually exits to your own freedom. So no, I didn't go running when they finally called. I didn't abandon the trip, the peace, or the voice I'd fought to reclaim. I chose myself, and that choice didn't make me selfish. It made me sovereign. And the irony? The moment I stopped needing them to see me was the moment they finally did.